Hello, very beautiful community. Let's look at a very lamentable sight, which is a creeping of the Kremlin's mobilization efforts. They've been picking up fewer people in 2026, and as a result, they're forced to put pressure on higher education authorities to come up with folks to send to the front. They've got to put pressure on folks doing military service to sign contracts. In some regions, they are further increasing the payouts. But the most interesting thing that's happening is that they're putting pressure on businesses to select a certain percentage of their employees and send them to the front. It's a scene of that kind that we're going to witness right now and react to with big picture. We're not just going to giggle at the people involved. Now, we saw a little while ago, some weeks ago, an edict in the Ryazan region where the instruction was that each business with 550 to 300 employees has to send an X number, one or two people to the front. The clip we're just going to watch is from Buryatia, and it's going to contain a kind of banality of evil light. It's going to contain sadism. It's going to contain a kind of woodenness and deep fatalistic depoliticization. But the Russian state is basically trying to say, come on, businesses, you've got to come up with people. If you don't, we're going to put pressure on you. If you still don't, we're going to put more pressure on you until you come up with some people to send to the front. Okay, let's rock and roll, beautiful community. Press record. So this is just folks representing local businesses just saying, no, we don't have anybody. We don't have anybody ready. We don't have anybody interested enough. We can't do it. We don't have the resources. We don't have the money. And we're just waiting for the chap to respond. Okay. Yeah, we're looking in great detail at this information. We still don't have an answer for you, but I honestly think we're not going to be able to do anything this month. Unfortunately, at the current time, we have neither the physical possibility nor the financial possibility. We're basically near bankruptcy. Okay, and so this is a regional authority head who's now going to tell these business folks off. He's saying, I'm not accepting your reports. This is your problem, and we don't recognize the problems you're describing. You need to get this done. And this name, the name of this boy is Vladimir Dashiev, and he is completely lost in his role, right? He doesn't have any human responsiveness, and he's gonna tell them off. Task is before you, execute on it. As long as you exist, as long as you're there, we're gonna address this question to you. Get the task done. How many do you need to come up with? Is it one or two? Two? Oh, all right, two. And so he is being told, come on, why is all of this administrative pressure being put on us? And he's saying, your question just tells a lot about your attitude to the operation itself, to the situation we find the country in. You're calling this administrative pressure. And the answer is, well, what am I meant to do? I can't just tell an employer, right, it's you, you're going. And so Mr. Dashiev says back to this guy, well, you could make the decision for yourself. You could go. No, you take the decision for yourself. I've taken the decision for myself. Oh, I can see that. I can see that you've taken it for yourself. You're sitting here. And then the tables are turned, and this guy turns it back on the local bureaucrat and says, well, you're also here, huh? And he has to now say something formally adequate. He goes, yeah, like I'm here, like, cause like, yeah, I'd definitely go if I wasn't needed, like, in my job and stuff. In it. Yeah, I'm not being released. So notice that that boy, the bureaucratic boy, has no clue about why the war is happening. He has no semblance of patriotism in him. He is performing a role. And in his role, he's got to do A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And so he's doing A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And the spin around of the question slightly began to blast him out of that role. When he was asked, well, why are you here? You're asking us why we haven't sent anybody or sent ourselves. Why are you still sitting here? Why aren't you at the front? And so he has to lie, because he doesn't want to go to the front, obviously, and say, yeah, I'm not being released, but like we're all in it to win it, whatever. But I'm not going. But you've got to go yourself or find somebody who can go. So this is a quite amazing meditation on a concept that's very important, which is the concept of compartmentalization. And the more depoliticized your society, the more you have that. And the more authoritarian your society, the more you have that. And the more authoritarian and depoliticized your society, the more you have that. That's when the role you play has no integrated relationship with who you are. So let's take a perhaps more benign Western example. You might be the CEO of a local business that's building something and destroying the local park. But as the dad of a couple of kids, there's a family living nearby, you're committed to the environment locally and you don't want that park destroyed. But as CEO of that company, you're actually destroying it. And these two parts of you don't speak to one another. That's something that is quite dangerous, actually, in a world of identity politics. And I'm not talking about hyper-identity politics here, the thing we criticize. I'm just talking about normal identity politics. And what's dangerous about that is that this can abstract the concept of character, right? If you're Ricky, CEO, and Ricky, dad of a couple of kids in the local area, there's got to be a character that holds all of the things that you do together. But if you just think about your identities, you can say, well, I have that identity professionally, then I have this identity personally, and the two don't have to speak to one another. And there is always a degree of false consciousness about that, right? There's always something bogus about that lack of integration, right? And this is one of the things that I'm very passionate about in my consulting as well. Integrate everything that you are into one, right? That sense of integrity is completely inseparable from fulfilling human life, okay? And that boy in Buryatia is, in a resplendent way and in a kind of very unmotivated way, lost in his role. He's not even excited about his role. He's lost in it without being excited by it. And so he manages to be, as a result, both wooden and sadistic toward these business owners. He doesn't speak to them as though they're quite real, as though they're human beings. He just speaks to them the utterances he has to make as part of the dispensation of his duty. And so what have you done today when he gets home is asked by his kids, he'll say, yeah, I did my job, I did my work. And as part of my work, I needed to say these two things. And then these mofos tried to personalize, and they asked me why I wasn't going over there to the front. And so, I had to say that I'm not being released. Well, do I really believe that? No. I could go if I wanted. So this is way worse than Soviet bureaucracy. There's something even more sick about this, because there is not even a semblance of some kind of distorted vision for the sake of which this stuff is happening. It's just happening because there's this dude in the Kremlin and he wants some stuff. And he happens to be the perceived carrier of legitimacy for all the depoliticized Russians. And so he wants that some stuff for some reason nobody can understand. And so that some stuff has to be done. And of course, that guy is, of course, thinking of his superiors putting pressure on him, and so he just wants to go through the motions and get this out of the way. Now, of course, neither he nor the business owners can have a conversation about the war. They can't talk about being for it or against it, but they can't even talk about what it's about, independently of whether they're for it or against it. They can't fake being for it and then say, yeah, the war, it's interesting, isn't it? Because it's all about this or all about that. Nobody knows what it's about. None of them know what it's about, right? It's just the state asking them to do stuff. And that's feeling fairly colonial, because it's just an authority on my territory. It wants stuff. I have no way to even begin interpreting why it wants this stuff, but it wants this stuff, and so we're screwed. And so it's going to sort of, reach with its extractive paws into this business I'm running that's already very compromised in various kinds of ways, and it's going to try to take people out of my business. Well, I can't force anybody to go, but they're going to make my life harder the longer I go without finding them some employees who can be sent to the front. So there's a kind of a strange attitude of fatalism, not just about what these people are all having to do, but a strange attitude of fatalism even about the interpretation of the reality around them. They've sort of just given up, defensively given up on acknowledging to themselves that they even have a desire to understand what is happening. It's just, let's get through these motions. For us, it means batting off this pressure from this local bureaucrat. For the local bureaucrat, it just means going through the motions. And also, I think releasing a certain amount of pent-up aggression and sadism in his exchange with them, while masquerading behind formality. But you can see that he has no commitment to the cause. He has no commitment to understand why this cause allegedly matters. He just is repeating stuff about how the nation needs you, and so you've got to do this. But he can't articulate what the nation even is, why it needs this, and what exactly it's up to with that particular activity, the invasion of Ukraine. So there's a kind of a deeply depoliticized, fatalistic, practically and cognitively resigned atmosphere there. So very, very, it feels like the whole atmosphere of this exchange is like, I don't know, like cigar ash, just a bowl of cigar ash. That's the state of Russia's attempts to militarily mobilize their population. Lots of love, beautiful community.